Welcome. I'm Dr. CD, and this is my advanced English lesson number 30. So, we're going to start out with this story here, and then we will build from there. A man in California was ordered by his city to hide the boat parked in his driveway with a fence. Instead of simply installing a fence, he hired his neighbor, an artist, to paint a realistic image of the boat on the fence. The man had parked his fishing boat in his driveway for about 4 years when he received a letter from the city. The letter cited a rule that boats and trailers must be hidden by a 6-foot-high fence. Initially frustrated, the man spoke with his neighbor, an artist, and they devised a creative solution. The man installed a fence to block the view of his driveway. The artist then painted a realistic image of the boat and driveway on the fence. This solution adhered to the city's rule while also making a unique statement. The artist shared photos of the painted fence on social media, where they quickly gained popularity. The man noted that the reaction was much bigger than they had anticipated, and they were pleased with the attention the project received. The city's acting manager also appreciated the creativity of the solution and even called the man to commend him. The manager had seen the photos online before realizing they were from a local home. The letter the man received was part of an effort to address complaints about code enforcement, leading to investigations and notices to violators. Once the fence was installed, the man's case was considered resolved and no further action was needed. So, this story happened in California. Can you show me where California is? Do you know where California is? It is this large red state on the west of the country. Some other common countries we've covered recently: Texas, Florida, New York. And let's go ahead and ask some questions, some reading comprehension questions. There were some vocabulary words I might bring up, but if you didn't know any of those words, make sure you look them up and then use them today. You have to use the words or you never gain them. I say you don't use it, you lose it, but if you've never had it, you'll never get it. So what did the city order the man to do? Correct answer is D, hide his boat. Who helped the man come up with a creative solution? Correct answer is neighbor, although I guess you could call him a friend. What did the artist paint on the fence? The answer here is both B and C. Not just a picture of the boat, but it's a realistic picture of the boat and the driveway. I actually don't have a picture of it in my lesson. I have the video. This is actually a video from a local news station, and it shows the conversations of both the owner of the house and the artist, and then kind of shows it. What was the city manager's reaction to the fence? The correct answer is he praised the creativity. But it's important to remember from this reading excerpt, the word they used was commend. He called to commend him. That's important to go back. I'll go back and look at it because that word right there, sometimes it's not command, right? If that were in A, it would be command. Completely different meaning. To command somebody to do something is to tell them they have to do this something. To commend somebody is to praise them. Again, this is they're both verbs, but to commend is to praise or to congratulate. I commend you on your wonderful efforts. So now let's jump to words that rhyme with boat. You wear this to keep warm in the winter. Correct answer is coat. The opposite of sink, but I wrote to sink because there is a noun like your kitchen sink, the bathroom sink, but this is the verb to sink. So sink, but it rhymes with boat, is float. What is this animal? goat. A written message is a note. To repeat someone's words exactly, like to be or not to be, that is the question, is a famous quote. And this is throat. And I like to ask students, if you call somebody a goat, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Generally, I would say that's a bad thing. Call somebody a goat. But what if you call them the goat? You're the goat. Why is it any different? The GOAT is actually an acronym or initialism for GOAT, greatest of all time. We use that for sports athletes and maybe singers or actors. If you're the best at your trade. I like to, so we talked about throat. Most people know throat, eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. But what about these body parts? Are you familiar with the cheek, the lips, the crown, the chin, the forehead, and the jaw? Let's go through them. One is the crown, just like you wear a crown on your crown. Although I only heard that in that Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown. It's like the only time I've actually ever heard that used, but it is sometimes. Sometimes animals have a crown or like a crest on their crown or something. So you will hear it used. 2 is forehead, 3 is lips, 4 is chin, 5 is jaw, 6 is cheeks, or cheek if it's just one side. Of course, these parts of the eyebrow is the hair there, the eyelid is the skin that covers your eye, and the eyelashes are the hairs on the tip of your eyelids. Short answer expressions. Why did the man receive a letter from the city? Ordinance. It was a code, a rule that he had broken. What was the city's rule about the boats and trailers? They had to be behind a fence, not in the driveway. How did the man's solution gain popularity? I mean, now listen, make sure you answer the question correctly. A lot of students, when I ask them this, how did the man's solution gain popularity? They describe what the man did. That's what gained popularity. But the question is, how did the man's solution, not what is the man's solution? And the answer is by posting it on social media. I believe it was the artist who actually posted it. Then it gained popularity. What action did the city manager take after seeing the painted fence? Again, he only saw the painted fence because he actually happened to see it on social media. Then he recognized, hey, I know that. And he called him and commended him, right? So he was happy with it. Then I like to ask my students, what about creative solutions for rules that you don't like? Most of my students, of course, being students, and there's generally a no eating in class, but I ask them, all of them have eaten in class. So I ask them, how did you manage to do it? And there's multiple factors going on. You need to make sure the teacher doesn't see you eating in class. But what about if other classmates see you eating in class? If they're your friend, you're going to feel obligated to share with them. If they're not your friend, they might tell on you, or they might blackmail you, make you give them some of your food in order not to tell on you. This could open up a whole can of worms. How do you manage doing this? Or do you just obey the rule? Parental rules, no video games during the week, no social media, no watching videos. Or are you able to, but you need to finish your homework? And are there any times one of my students had their student has screen time on their app or on their phone, so they know when they're watching them, but there's little ways around it. So I like to hear all of their little ways. How do you break this rule? What about community rules? No riding your bike, no skateboarding, no littering, no walking on the grass. Do you break these rules ever? If so, how do you do it? And there again, there's different ways. How do you do it? Do you bend the rule? Do you outright just disobey the rule, but justify it to yourself? Or do you avoid cameras or policemen or whatever situations that you do? Again, my students in schools that have uniforms, how do you, if you like your uniform, okay, but if you want to be different, do you do anything? Do you pop your collar just to stand out in a different way, wear different colored socks, or wear your PE uniform on another day just because it's more comfortable? These are all ways to maybe avoid or bend or escape these rules. We have family rules, maybe bedtime, which takes precedent. I have different students with different situations. Some of parents are more on sleep. You have to be to bed at this time. Other students are more on you have to finish your homework. And which one's going to take precedence? Are you allowed to say, "Hey, it's bedtime. I haven't finished my homework. Oh well, I'm not going to finish my homework, or I will in the morning, or I'll do it later." Or is you're not going to sleep until you finish your homework. These are differences. Another rule, community rule, park rule, no pets allowed. Tell me more about that. And then I like to break it up. Here we go. Here's a sign. Can you find the mistake? I'll give you a clue. Most people jump straight to the numbers. They think there's some error in the numbers. There is no error in the numbers. The color scheme, I mean, it's not like it doesn't say it has to be in the order of the rainbow or anything like that. So some people jump to the fact that the word mistake is bolded, bold letters. No, there's nothing wrong there. The problem is that the is twice. Can you find the mistake? It's easy to overlook this. Actually, the more advanced English you are, more likely going to miss this. It was my lower level students that recognize this because they're more likely to read word by word, and generally we word in groups when we're able to read proficiently. True or false questions. The man's boat parked in his driveway it was parked for about 4 years. That is correct. The artist painted a picture of a car on the fence. That is false. The city manager was upset about the painted fence. No, he was not. The letter the man received was due to complaints about code enforcement is correct. Fill in the blank here. I'll fill in the blank as I read them. The man parked his fishing boat in his driveway for about 4 years. The city rule required boats and trailers to be hidden by a 6-foot high fence. The man hired his neighbor, an artist, to paint the fence. The city manager praised the man for his creative solution. What type of artist was the neighbor? He was a painter. How long had the man parked his boat in the driveway before getting the letter? 4 years. And then, should cities enforce strict rules about how residents use their driveways? And this brings up an interesting concept, really, on freedom and liberty. Most people will think those are synonyms. In some ways, they can be, if you look at the definition of a synonym being as words that can, in some context, be exchanged, but really they're opposites. You can't maximize freedom and liberty. Freedom is the right to do whatever you want, and liberty is more about not being oppressed, and that would be having the freedom to not have other people infringe on your freedoms. So there's this obvious problem with freedom and liberty, and that's, listening to music. Do you have the freedom to listen to music as loud as you want? Or does this person have the freedom to have a quiet environment? So your freedoms are infringing on their freedoms, but that's actually the distinction I'm making between freedom and liberty. And I like asking this. Most of my students live in high-rise apartments in major cities in China, where they're not going to have driveways, but still you have balconies, let's say. Are there issues there? Are you allowed to just store whatever you want out on your balcony, chairs and old dressers and stuff, and it gets junky, right? These are mainly aesthetic. Obviously, if there's fire hazards or there's the possibility of something falling over and injuring somebody, that's an issue as itself. But this is actually really just an aesthetic thing. I mean, I see this in America a lot, and there are issues with cars, but to me, it's really, if it's running, it shouldn't be an issue. If the guy uses the boat, then what's the issue? But if it's just sitting there and then it's broken and it's gathering dust and it becomes just an atrocity, I can see people complaining that, hey, get this piece of junk out. What's it doing? It's just sitting there. But at the same time, hey, it's my driveway. So what's it bothering you? Again, at some point, if there's like an insect infestation or rodents or something, obviously then then it's a true hazard. I think is definitely an issue. But again, I just want to hear about my students. What sort of things do people complain about? Let's go on to our next story. Another one in California here. A daredevil risked his life and arrest by walking a tightrope between two graffiti-covered skyscrapers in downtown Los Angeles. Ben Schneider, known as Reckless Ben on YouTube, posted a video of himself walking the tightrope between the two skyscrapers at Ocean Wide Plaza, a vacant development known as the Graffiti Towers, because of the artwork covering the building. It was very scary. I was looking down. When you get scared, you start to shake, and when you shake, the line shakes, and then you fall off, Schneider said. I didn't want to fall. You just have to calm your mind. Schneider said he and his friends used distraction techniques to gain access to the building. We pretended we were a religious group and had 20 people hold signs saying Jesus saves to block the police's view, so we could hop the fence, he said. Schneider, who wore a safety harness during the stunt, crossed the nylon rope in about 2 minutes. Police said they are investigating the incident, but it was not clear if Schneider would face any charges. Some questions on this. What did Ben Schneider risk by walking the tightrope? The correct answer is life and arrest. He did wear a harness, still dangerous act. What did Schneider wear? Where did he walk the tightrope? Between two skyscrapers. What was the nickname of the skyscrapers? Graffiti Towers. I do talk about graffiti. What is graffiti? Do you know what graffiti is? It can be tagging the side of a building. It could be your gang sign. It could just be just vandalism and just ugly, just spray paint it, whatever. It also can be art. There are a lot of beautiful graffiti art, some of it done and paid by maybe by the city to make a beautiful graffiti art. Some could be rebel art, come in spray painting in the middle of the night, like the renowned Banksy. And then it could also be like I said, gang signs claiming your territory or whatnot. So how did Schneider and his friends distract the police? Correct answer is to pretend to be a religious group. And then I just asked my students if they could match Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Christianity, Hinduism, and Islam, some of these major religions. Can you match them to their symbol? And I'll do that for you. This would be literally the Tao, right? The yin yang. The Om sign is Hinduism. And this water, there's a couple of them is Confucians, but none of my Chinese students were able to identify that. So I don't know if it's true. I know that sign is what it means water. I've always associated that with Confucianism. The moon and the star is Islam. You'll see a moon and a star on many flags. That kind of, that's an Islamic country. The cross here is Christianity. And this is the karmic wheel, which is part of Buddhism. This is going to come up later in our lesson. I'm going to do this. We're going to talk about karma. So do you know what karma means? Have you ever heard karma? This person has good karma, bad karma, instant karma. And in short, it's, good things come to good people, bad things come to bad people. In Buddhism, it's more of your past lives, actually, your life. So it's easier to avoid, right? Because we know good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. Still, I think it's one of the best rules to live by. At least act as if karma is true, even if you don't believe it. Everybody probably would get along pretty well. And then you hear terms like instant karma, which is like, I've seen this before. Somebody actually like reach out on a motorbike and to kick a car, maybe because the car cut them off, which and that person did wrongdoing, but then the person kicking, and then he falls over. So it's like, you try to do something and you're instantly punished. We call that instant karma. That's not really a Buddhist concept. That's just using karma. Karma is colloquial and often used, not in the religious context, just basically you get what you deserve. So here's some phrases. Can you match them? Now knowing that, can you match these little quotes with the thing. So let's go ahead and read them. Believe in Jesus, love others, and be forgiven. Well, again, that's Christianity. Again, my students aren't really familiar with religions. If you're familiar with Christianity, you're going to obviously know Jesus means Christianity, but for Chinese students, they actually did not know that. Follow God's guidance and the teachings of Muhammad. Again, obviously, if you're familiar with these Western religions, you would know that Islam is about Muhammad, but I wouldn't say that's common knowledge necessarily for everyone. So live rightly, respect others, and keep family close. This one is going to be Confucianism. Again, you could say, yeah, that's just common. That's like common law, maybe, but yeah, Confucianism. Confucianist theories are more about like social structure. That's more of a political philosophy than a religion in a lot of ways, but you know, finding peace and kindness in every moment. I would associate that with Buddhism. Again, you could argue with me, but I'm going to say that everything is connected and actions matter. I'm going to say that's Hinduism. And go with the flow of nature and life is Taoism. Again, these are just short little clippets, maybe help people just kind of, I tried to capture some of these religions in a single phrase, but I'm not going too deep into that. I'm just going to jump here now. It's joke time. Why doesn't the Karma restaurant have a menu? We knew what karma was. We talked about what karma is. The answer is everyone gets what they deserve. I thought that would be funny. I thought it'd be funny to open a Karma restaurant, no menu. As soon as you sit down, boom, they just give you something to eat. The short answer here is, what nickname does Ben Schneider use on YouTube? Again, this is more like memory, not so much deep understanding of English, but if you did really fully understand and read, you would. Maybe you didn't know that word. Maybe you skipped it. Maybe it's stuck in your mind. It was Reckless Ben. So you can look at reckless, what reckless means. And how did Schneider describe his experience on the tightrope? Couple things, right? He said he's nervous, shaking. He looked down, he shakes. That make you nervous, and when you shake, the rope shakes, and then you're more likely to fall. So you have to calm your mind. How long did it take Schneider to cross the nylon rope? I think it was 2 minutes. What are the police investigating? Well, they're investigating him and whether he broke the law, which I guess he did. I mean, he definitely trespassed, to say the very least. True or false? Questions. Ben Schneider walked the tightrope without any safety equipment. That's not true. He did have a harness. The skyscrapers are known as the graffiti towers because of the artwork on the building. That's true. Schneider used a tightrope made of steel, which is false. It was made of nylon. It is clear that Schneider will face charges for a stunt. No, it's not clear, although he was scared. I have a video for it. He's showing the interview. He's like saying that the police are right around the corner. If they turned his head, they could arrest him. We don't know how I mean, it's illegal. Are they going to press charges? Are they going to let him go? We don't know. Fill in the blanks. Ben Schneider is known as Reckless Ben on YouTube. The skyscrapers are covered in graffiti. Schneider wore a safety harness during the stunt. The police are investigating the incident. What is the name of the plaza where the tightrope walk occurred? The correct answer is Ocean Wide Plaza. Again, not significant for understanding contextually, but good if you can recall information. I would say it's above and beyond just English in anything. Even if you're a native English speaker, you might just like seaside, riverside, mountain. I mean, those are all so similar. It's easy to just overlook the insignificant details at the same time. In fact, in a lot of ways, I would say advanced English readers they would recognize that that's not significant. But I'd say paying attention to details could help. You never know. That could be a detail you could get you out of a situation. When you remember details, could save your life in many cases. So I think it's a good to practice our detail retention as well. What did Schneider and his friends use to block the police's view? Sign saying Jesus saves is the correct answer. The debate is, should tightrope walking be banned in urban areas? There are arguments on both sides. I'd like to hear them. It can cause distraction for people in area, so it could cause an accident because people are looking up, driving, looking up, hey, what's going up there? So that could be a problem. And then if he's not wearing a harness and he fell, he could actually hurt somebody. He could fall on a little baby and kill them. That's obviously a problem. Vacant buildings that are or you're trespassing, those are all issues. But there's also the thing like, hey, it's not harming anybody. It's cool. These things are great for communities. These, these liven up a town. So there's uh, that side too. And we're just going to end up with a math. Actually, here's a little math problem. Here's a question mark to solve for. Go ahead and find it. Find relationships. Sometimes people are looking at like 1 and 7 is 8, 9 and 7 is 16. They think they have it. Then they look 7 and 7 is 14, 7 and 5 is 12, but that's not it. That's intentionally there. There is some other relationship. There is an addition relationship, and it comes from these two numbers, 9 and 8 added together equal 17. So that's the correct answer there. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and that finishes today's advanced English lesson number 30. See you next time. Bye-bye.